Hello. Today, we're going to go over these comments that I've been reading in Blue's comment section. I've been seeing these for a long time, and I've had these exact quotes in my comment section too before, where people are saying that the top guilds need to disband, and then they need to send all their little, good players to baby guilds and have those players build up those guilds in order to create more lively competition, so that way there's an active PvP scene. Now, every time I see this comment, I have the same question is, okay, so you have this idea. Now you tell me, how do you enforce that? Go ahead and I'll wait. Just go ahead and tell me how do you enforce that? I'd like to know. You guys don't understand. What makes a guild good and successful is time, effort, and a lot of fucking headaches. I've been in small guilds. I've been in big guilds. I've been in the #1 guild. I'm still in the #1 guild currently. And I'm an officer here too, before like the node war changes and everything. I used to do building with Oswald. I used to go scouting. I used to do a ton of things in this guild. I used to do the pre-builds every single day before like node war changes happened and whatnot. I did quite a few things here in Sacred as like leadership wise. I was never like a literal officer where I was managing discords and things like that, but I was an officer in the sense of in game where I had to do a lot of building and a lot of scouting, and me and Oswald were the ones going around doing crazy stuff. Oswald did a lot of the heavy lifting. He was the main person that really held Sacred down when Sacred was really struggling. And you guys got to understand, guilds are built off of time and effort and just literal fucking waste of time. Honestly, that's just how it works. I've been in these small guilds before, and I can tell you the biggest problem with small guilds is they put too much emphasis on loyalty. Loyalty is absurd in BDO. It doesn't exist. There are members, there is loyalty, don't get me wrong, that does exist, but when you put such a giant emphasis on it and then you start to alienate players from coming back to your guild, that's probably one of the biggest problems that little guilds do. They're like, oh shit, Lil Timmy, he decided to leave and go to this guild, fuck that guy, he's never allowed back in here again. You have no idea how many times I've heard some dumb shit like that. And you know what happens in Sacred when somebody leaves? The GM and Jay, like Steve and Jay, they give the same message, like, all right, dude, if you ever want to come back, let me know. You're a solid player, and that's cool. If you ever want to come back, and guess what? They always come back. That's how it goes here in Sacred. It's very simple. It's very casual. And that's another thing too. Most of the guild is casual as hell. And you might not think that. You might think, how are you guys casual? You guys are big sweat lords in PvP. Yeah, the players are, but they don't have to do anything though. When we say casual, it's casual as a regular member. All the heavy lifting that goes in Sacred is done by the officer corps, is done by Jay or Steve or Oswald or any of the other officers that have responsibilities. So they take on all the heavy headache induced garbage, so that way the regular members can have a peaceful, casual experience. All you got to do as a regular member, show up to a node war, beat people's asses, have a decent score, have a decent time, and perform well. And that's your only job, is to do what you are told. If you were on a special team, your job is to do what that special team is made for. If you're deflex, you're cannons and flag duty. If you're flex, you're also cannons and flag duty as well, while also adding pressure to bases. If you're on a cannon team, your only job is to shoot cannons and be accurate. Your score doesn't even matter. You don't even have to be positive. You could be 0 and 100 and it doesn't matter. If you have like 30 annexes killed off of the fort, off of the cannon shots, then boom, that's it. That's all they care about. That's the thing about Sacred, is that people think that it's this mega sweat guild, and the officers are the sweatiest. The players, they got it easy. All they got to do is just show up and shoot people. Like, that's all they have to do. And a lot of these baby guilds, they put emphasis on loyalty. They put emphasis on trying to do the most. Like, they try and give everybody delegating ideas. Even at one point, I was doing that too, which was a bad thing to do, because you're stressing your fucking players out. You're stressing your boys out, and you gotta stop that shit. It's not the way to do things. That's what makes Steve such a great GM, is that he doesn't stress other people out. He's the one stressed out. This man's sick every other week. He's coughing up a lung every week. He's got fucking head splitting headaches. He's got so many people pissing him off. It's just like the dude is like foaming at the mouth at this point, just bleeding in the streets with how many situations he has to fucking deal with every single day. day when it comes to node wars and sieges. Obviously not so much anymore because, you know, there's not really a reason to. Nobody's fighting anybody, nobody's doing shit anymore. But before, the guy was doing so much. And all these baby guilds, if they want to grow, all they have to do is just create a decent environment. And your officers, they're gonna hate you, and you're gonna hate the officers, and you're gonna hate the entire core of your guild in terms of like the players that run it, and you're gonna bump heads because there's gonna be conflict and ideas and things that happen, and you're gonna have to deal with drama and stupid bullshit where people are like, I want this guy kicked, or I'm taking 6 of these good players with you. I've seen situations like that where people make that ultimatum, which is fucked up, by the way. If you're ever a player that's like, if you don't kick these guys and I'm taking these players with me or whatever, if you've ever been in that situation, that sucks. I've seen a lot of players do that, and it's really shitty because you put so much unnecessary strain on the guild and your GM and the officer corps because of such bullshit. But that is the game. That is the game. It's filled with players that have egos. It's filled with players that have so many things mentally wrong, and it's just something that happens. It's part of the job description. When if you want to be a successful guild, you better be prepared to deal with successful guild problems, which I guarantee you 90% of you are not willing to do that. So just think about it. Whenever you type this dumbass comment, I need you guys to realize that you don't understand the half of what goes on behind the scenes and what makes a guild successful. You really don't. If you think it's just sending players to a guild in order to build it up or to alleviate or create them to have some kind of strength to where they're going to have a competition, you got to remember, again, what makes a successful guild is the officer corps, the GM, and the advisor. Those make a successful guild. When it comes to casual players, most of the players in those guilds, they don't have leadership qualities. They don't have leadership skills. They don't have anything like that. You have to have interpersonal skills where you have to communicate with your guys, your players, and you have to be able to communicate with them and calm them down when situations happens. You know how many fires I had to put out in Arsha? I talked to so many fucking people. I had people complaining to me every single day about somebody said this, somebody did that. I didn't like the way this person talked to me during Node War. I didn't like the way our shot caller yelled at me. Like, oh my God, shut the fuck up, you baby. Holy shit. It was like obviously I wish I could have said that, and I didn't because, like, again, we needed those players. So it's like I'm just forced to, I gotta put on a face and I gotta just I'm gonna talk to this guy calmly and I'm not gonna scream at it. It was insane, the amount of complaints and the amount of bullshit that would go on behind the scenes with that guild. It was just ridiculous. And again, it was just headaches every single day, every single fucking day. Even Thug 2 also had to deal with so much bullshit as well. He had to deal with some of the dumbest shit imaginable. Guido also had to deal with such dumb shit too. Fucking Lotus had to deal with my dumb shit because everybody was complaining to me and I was complaining to Lotus, and I was just like, it's just a chain of events that kept going downhill. And it's like, it's never as simple as just give me good players and my guild will be top tier. No, you think that you have leadership skills, you think you have calling skills, you think you know how to shot call, you think you know how to lead a flex, you think you know how to lead a deflex. I promise you, you fucking don't. You may know how to do certain things at a certain level, but when it comes to running a highly functional flex team and deflex team and ball, you do not. I ran defense before. I ran deflex before. I ran flex before in Arsha, and I also did do, I think, a couple calls here in Sacred where I had to do deflex because Fridge couldn't be available for whatever reason. But I've done a few different things, and I was also on the flex team for Sacred too. I'm still on the current deflex team for fucking Sacred. So it's like these teams, the way that they function is they are so self-sufficient. You don't even need to say much of anything. They already know what they're doing. You make a call out, yo, flag. All right, yo, Dahaka, go find the flag. He found the flag in 30 seconds. He found it instantly. He just knows where all the flag spots are. He's got a T10 Peggy or whatever. You tell him flag, boom, fine. Coco, find a flag, found him. That's just how quick they are. Like, one sentence, you just need to tell them one fucking thing, and boom, it's job's done. That is the difference between a high functioning flex team versus a flex team that you have to wheelchair around because they don't know what the fuck they're doing. That all comes with time and experience, and it's just something that you're gonna have to get used to. You learn things like flags, for example. The flags, those are big things that you have to figure out where all the popular placements are. You also have to know about where you are placed as a base. Back in the day when we had to build forts, you would find a position, usually a high location where they had to get to you and there wasn't no way to surround your fort, and you just kind of put yourself in this position where you have the advantageous spot, right? So now as a builder, what me and Oswald used to do, we would build the forts, right? And then we would look around and we're like, okay, so if our fort's here, cannons can hit us from any of these locations, flags are most likely going to be in these spots right here. And then we would get that information, and then we would put that information in Deflex, in Flex chat, and then we would also find enemy forts. We would fish for those forts, and then we would mark them on the map, and then we would also get that information to our leaders, and then they would be able to go ahead and fucking, you know, just push this guild off rip. See, it's players like that that will make your guild successful. The dedication and time. Me and Oswald used to spend hours out there. We would be out there at like 3 o'clock PST, so Node War starts at 6, right? Me and Oswald would already be out there by 3:30. We're scouting for 2 hours. We're out there, we're fighting people, we're finding forts, we're scouting, and then we, not only that, we're placing our forts too, trying to make sure we ensure a fight. And then that's what we did. That time and dedication of players that are willing to do stuff like that, those are the players that make a guild. At least was, not anymore, because obviously the Node War system has changed, so you can't really do much of that. You can kind of do that on Siege still a little bit, but for the most part, you can't really do that anymore in Node Wars. But it's never ever as simple as just, yo, send half of your roster to this guild and send the other half to this guild, and then build them up, and then boom, you have a PvP scene. Players belong to cliques, players belong to groups, and friends are attached to friends, and good players are always going to want to be surrounded by good players. That's just what it is. And if you guys want to sit there and pretend that you don't want that either, then that's like, you know, how many times you load up Call of Duty and then you bitch, man, I'm fucking 30 and full 4 and my entire team is negative. It's like, you want good players too. You want that shit. So you know what it's like to, even if you're not Call of Duty, but League of Legends or whatever, my fucking, my mid lane's feeding. These guys 0 and 9, 10 minutes in. My bot lane is feeding. My top lane is feeding. Why can't I ever get good teammates? In Rainbow Six Siege, oh my God, I'm top frag and this guy has not gotten a kill the entire game. We play Valorant, yo, I have 90 kills. This guy has fucking 1 and 6. Like, what happened? How did he, there's been 15 rounds. How do you have 6 deaths and only 1 kill? That shit don't even make sense and you're pissed off. So to sit there and try and tell other players like, oh yeah, just disband and go and be good in another guild, when you know damn well all you want to do is be surrounded by S-tier players so that way you can have victory too. It's never that simple. It is a utopia idea where you just, everything is all sunshine and rainbows, everything is perfect, the game is perfect, everybody loves each other, there's no whatever, and it's just a fun game. And the reality is, no, it's fucking not. It's never that simple. You're an absolute degenerate maniac if you believe it's that simple. It is never going to be that simple. Let that idea die out. It's never going to happen. Even if all the top guilds are going to fall over and die at some point, just remember, no king rules forever, but there will always be a king. And that's just how it is. So you're just gonna have to live with that for the rest of your life. But anyway, that is it for today's video. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. I will talk to you guys in the next one.